So far, I fucking love it.
Yeah.
So we're like 5 episodes in. It absolutely whips ass. I recommend it to anybody who cares the slightest bit about Lord of the Rings. If not, I don't know, man. If it hasn't won you over by now, it ain't gonna this time.
Yeah. Man, it sure is pretty to look at. My
Oh,
goodness, you can sure see
Jesus.
the budget.
Oh my god. It's
Yeah, like
crazy.
yeah.
They took one look at Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon and went,
Oh yeah.
well, we got better. We can do
And they
this.
do.
And like House of the Dragon looks great as well. Looks tremendous. The dragons especially, they look better in House of the Dragon than they do in Game of Thrones. But still, man, you can really see why Rings of Power is the most expensive show ever made.
Yeah.
Was that yeah.
They earmarked something like $1 billion.
Whew.
for that
Bezos.
show. Yeah.
Did you hear the story? Apparently Bezos' kid came up to him and was like, "Dad, you'd better not fuck this up." It's the one time he's ever like come up to his dad and had an opinion on the business.
I mean, he's doing that thing that all the billionaires do where they make a charitable foundation and dump all their money into it to stop paying taxes on it ever again.
Uh
So he's not really Amazon's boy, except like kind of. It's weird.
yeah.
Fucking rich people, man.
Dude, rich people with that evil maniacal laugh. You ever heard that? You ever seen that video of him laughing?
No.
Horrible.
I
Yeah.
I have seen clips of him laughing. It is very unsettling. Not the way you're
Very.
thinking.
No.
It's not a stereotypical evil laugh. It's very weird.
Yeah, it's very Jeff Bezos. Once you hear it, you'll be like, "Yo, that's exactly how that dude laughs, isn't it?" Terrifying all the children.
So
Imagine how creepy that laugh was when Amazon was being run out of a garage. There's
Oh,
just a closed garage door on a quiet suburban street, and the Bezos laugh is just echoing out of that thing.
yeah. Yeah. Him pounding out that early Amazon code, that late 90s Amazon code, head against the wall all night long.
Fuck. Selling books.
Who's that? Who the fuck is Ellen Books?
Selling books.
Selling books.
Oh, selling books.
you got it. You got there.
Oh.
Ellen Books would be a great pseudonym, though.
Yeah, yeah, like something Stephen King can write under.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
Yeah.
Stephen King is already a rad ass writing name, but
Yeah, that's true. I don't know why he needed to go with Richard Bachman.
To keep the game fresh. So I know we all have games we desperately want to talk about.
yeah.
Definitely some projects that were dropped. Some long cooking efforts that have finally seen the light of day, and I don't know. Why don't I let you motherfuckers chat it up about Ragnarok?
Gonna get right into it, huh?
Well, I got nothing. I got nothing to say about this game. I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Well, I do have thoughts.
Okay.
It's very much like the last game.
Okay. Okay.
It is the second one of the last game. And let's be clear, the last game was very good. It was excellent. Well tuned, decent combat, good character interactions, really good writing. This is that. If you're looking for
Yeah.
something different, forget it, because it's not. But it is tremendously well written. The interactions between Kratos and Atreus and all of the Norse characters, beyond that, really good. No complaints. But having a hard time saying like this is game of the year.
Yeah. Okay.
Because
just because it doesn't differentiate itself enough, or like,
well, I mean a little bit that, but also it does lead you by the hand a lot.
yeah, I've heard that.
It
I've heard that's a real problem.
you'll be looking at a puzzle for about half a second and Atreus is lipping off to the old man about what he should be doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got several moments in the playthrough, which you can go back and watch. That exact thing happening.
A lippy little
Staring at
shit.
something. Man, he has got all that teenage angst, and I want to smack the shit out of him.
He does.
Awesome.
I mean, for me, it makes sense in the combat because you can't see shit when you're fighting in that game, and having the disembodied head or the kid say, "Watch behind you," that's actually really helpful.
Huge.
But
huge.
come on, the puzzles are not hard.
No.
So shut your yap unless I ask you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be like a 60-second countdown timer where it's like, all right, you're in a puzzle room. Give the player a solid minute to like look around, poke at things, shoot the wrong shit, you know.
Yeah. Now, I mean, this is something you can turn off.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, game hints.
Oh.
Game hints, I believe, have been something that you could turn off since the original. Yeah.
I would have assumed that would just be text-based shit that comes up in the loading screen, not like the conversation prompt.
Yeah. I mean, they'll give you like Paul's right. Paul's absolutely right. But yeah, they will give you both. You know, you'll get the text prompts that pop up throughout the game. When the first time you have to use your blades to swing across something, it'll tell you in the top right corner. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that you can turn that off.
Okay. Well, that's good. At least you can turn it off. I think they should. Arguably, that should be the default, and like turn it on if you really want that hand-holdy experience. Because honestly, it funnels you enough that you don't need the hints. You know, the structure of the game is pretty linear, and linear, there's a lot of linear paths with some enemies and chest high walls and all those things that you expect out of semi-modern combat game, and then some wider areas where it widens out a bit and you can go off and do some side stuff if you want. But it's very much like, so far for me anyway, when you get to those wider areas, there's a couple of side quests and you just kind of check those off and then you go to the next area.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some good set pieces and good moments there. But yeah, I'm not like blown away.
Yeah. So the story is definitely not as tight as the first one.
Mm-hmm.
But it was going to be tough to beat the first one in that regard, because the first game was really just about bringing some ashes to the top of a mountain.
Yeah.
You know, that's really what the game was about. This one is, man, it's all about this war that's going on, and like, it's sweet, it's great, but yeah, it's a little more convoluted, and it means that there are going to be times that take you away from Kratos that I felt maybe have dragged on a bit too long. Like, I just got through this part playing as Atreus when you meet Angrboda, and that it's like a 3-hour section where, very, very light on combat. You're kind of just running from place to place, discovering things, doing a couple puzzles here and there. Yeah, I don't remember any parts in the 2018 version that really dragged like that. But man, it's exactly what you said. If you enjoyed the first one, this is all of that and then some,
Yeah. I think maybe it was the simplicity of the 2018 game that made it so good. The task at hand was extremely simple, and that left a lot of space for them to play with the characters, and to develop Kratos as this emerging father figure, and develop the kid as this little piece of shit that's only going to get worse, and all the various affiliated characters around that, Whereas this, like you said, there's a war.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of space and it takes a lot away from those smaller moments.
Exactly. Like nobody in the series is more interesting than Kratos. So you shouldn't be taken away from him for extended periods of
Yeah.
time. And which brings me to my next point as to why I think maybe people aren't quite as hot on this one as they were the last one. The character, like we hadn't seen Kratos. When did the God of War 3 come out? It was like 10 years before then, right? And it was
Oh,
essentially
it's like 06, 07.
06, right? So it'd been like 15 years since we had seen that character. I think that a lot of the honeymoon had worn off by the time this second game came around because we had spent a ton of time with this new version of Kratos, this older, wiser, more humble version of Kratos that is most assuredly not the God of War anymore. And it was really cool to explore that character and like find out what he's been doing and what he's been up to and what he's been feeling now. And you got a ton of that out in the first game. And so I think, like I said, a lot of the honeymoon has worn off for the second one, and people just aren't quite as invested as finding out what this like new version of Kratos is about. We kind of just getting the same same stuff as we did the last time. So
Yeah. It may as well be like a 60, 70 hour DLC.
yeah. I mean, maybe that's the point, because let's
Yeah, sure.
not forget that like these are two games that they're one single camera shot. The first game is one single camera shot, the second game is one single camera shot. Like maybe that's the point, is they just want this entire series to essentially feel like you're playing a massive trilogy and it's all just one seamless experience.
Yeah, I could see that.
So that, I mean, I say trilogy, but I'm not done Ragnarok yet, but I think it's pretty clear that they're building towards a third game.
Yeah, I think they've said that already, that it will be a trilogy. But I'm really not that far into this, like maybe 15 hours.
Okay.
And even at this point, I'm like, how much more character growth can there possibly be for these two?
Well, exactly. So for Kratos, probably none, because I mean, they're really driving home this whole prophecy thing from the start of Ragnarok and from the end of the last game. They're really driving home this prophecy that something happens to Kratos. Kratos dies, something, and Atreus is there and Odin is there. But it's like, man, they're like beating you over the head with it so much. It just seems like too obvious that that's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Like, I see your point on one side of the coin where, like, how much more development can you really do other than kill the character off? Yeah. But on the flip side, with this prophecy, like, hitting you over the head with that, I'm like, are they really just going to make it that obvious and that, anticlimactic? They've been telling us that Kratos is going to die for 4 or 5 years, and then he does? I don't know.
Yeah, you'd have to handle that very carefully.
Very, very carefully. Like, it makes me think of them killing Joel in Last of Us.
Yeah, talk about unceremonious.
Unceremonious, and like, as much as I chirped the story of that game, I always said that moment I thought was brilliant.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's ever been a stronger I was never more incentivized to go out and get these people after that scene with Joel. It was incredibly well done. So if they could do something like that with Kratos, then sure. If let's say Odin gets Kratos by the end of it, and then the next game is all about Atreus getting that revenge, I'm into it.
Yeah, because the moment-to-moment gameplay is really good.
It's fantastic.
It's really smooth. The combat is fun. It's complicated and can be challenging, but not overly so. It's not, hyper technical or anything.
Well, once you get to Gimme God of War, though.
Oh yeah, there will like just
gets
punishing.
Yeah, it gets a lot more technical.
I mean, even on the standard difficulty, it can get pretty tough if you go out of your way to find those, optional the Draugr battles and stuff. Those will get you, even
Hateful.
on the standard difficulties if you're not on your toes.
Yeah, those hateful
Yeah.
Draugrs are something else. Apparently, the end game bosses are a complete nightmare. So we'll see. But I don't know. It's definitely going to be between Elden Ring and God of War. I'm gonna have to go back and play some more Elden Ring to see what I really feel. But I don't know. I'm thinking God of War for Game of the Year for me.
Interesting.
I of course have the opposite vote, but we could have guessed that.
Yeah.
I've put like 130 or 140 hours into Elden Ring. I had to fucking make myself stop, so I feel like my vote is cast.
You sure though it's not going to be Pokemon Violet, Scarlet?
Holy shit, am I ever sure of that? But yes.
Well, let's get into that because what happened? What happened to good games? Like Brett and I were talking about this before the cast. Game Freak doesn't know how to make shit, for one. But how did this thing get out the door?
Well, the story I've heard, I don't have like a link to the article or whatever, but my understanding is that Game Freak does this thing where every time they get a new project, they want to get their newest employees a chance to get their fucking feet wet, which sounds insane, and it is.
Why?
That's an incredible question. The other thing is that there was such a short fucking turnaround time on this because in the last calendar year, I think they've had Scarlet and Violet, the Diamond and Pearl remakes, and Arceus.
Yeah.
And like it's allegedly different teams working on the different projects, but like there's got to be like 90 to 100 staff at Game Freak total. So like anytime they were like siphoning people off to do other shit, they were just like, you know what I mean? Like the fucking main project ended up suffering, and they only even announced it that it existed at all like last year. So it was never gonna be great, but
yeah, here's the thing for me. Like it's probably a decent game. I haven't played it. I'll let you guys just determine that. But if I was looking at the video and the screenshots of this game and it was not a Pokemon game, you'd be looking at it as some like mid Wii life cycle shovelware.
Yeah,
like it's
you'd be
that
wondering
bad.
What cell phone game developer made this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, easily. I was saying, yeah, they've innovated in the right ways. The formula is cool. I feel like they took a lot of the cool stuff from Arceus, a lot of the right choices that they made in Arceus, they brought over to this new one. But oh man, I was saying to you before we started, but James, the very second I started the game, the very second I had control of my character, I moved my right stick to the left, and it puts the camera through the wall, so I'm staring just into the abyss. And I'm like, this is not a good first impression here. I've never seen this before in a Pokemon game.
Oh yeah, it's interesting because the consensus online seems to be when most people are like, they gave their like one tweet review of the game, it runs like fucking garbage. I'm having the most fun I've had in Pokemon in 10 years. Yeah. Those are the 2 points that come up all the time. It's just like, this game is completely bum jumped, and they did everything right mechanically.
And like to be clear, it's not the hardware by any means. We rip on the Switch hardware a lot, but it's not the hardware. It's Monster Hunter runs a lot better than this. Legend of Zelda runs a lot better than this. Odyssey runs a lot better than this. All games that are way more graphically intensive.
Yeah, I haven't seen any like really serious glitches. Like the frame rate is fuckoed. Like that. Like it Here's the thing that I think is a little distressing, is that your character has this sort of like frame rate bubble that surrounds them on all sides. So within this bubble, the game runs decently, like 30 frames per second or very close to. But when you get outside of that sphere,
Oh, dude, it's pure stop
objects
animation.
objects go down to like a handful of frames per second. So you'll like see somebody walk by in the distance, and they'll be doing the bam, 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 bam with like the robot legs, and then they get close enough to you and they have a real walk cycle.
Yeah. How about the fucking mini map that runs at 10 frames a second? Like, why? Why can't the mini map run?
Oh yeah, or like when you go shopping for shit, like accessories or whatever, and you have to sit there for like a good 15 or 20 seconds before the like image of what your character looks like wearing it will
Yeah.
pop up sometimes.
Yeah.
It's
They-
so fucked.
They've gotten rid of interiors, most interiors, I should say. Now, if you like walk into a cafe or into like a shop, it'll just flash to a white screen or whatever. And like James said, then you'll just see your character against like a menu of items you can scroll through. That's one thing I'm kind of like, what?
Yeah, because of the way the frame rate seems to work, where like your character projects a field of like playable frame rate, I don't know if they can patch that away. Like, it seems like that's baked into the base code.
Yeah.
So maybe they can do some patches to stop the constant fucking memory leaks so that you can like go place to place without like everything crashing. Oh, another place where like even the sphere doesn't help your character is when you get into the classroom for one of the only times in the beginning of the game, and they're like, "Hey class, come say hi to your new classmate Tuggernuts or whatever." And they're like, "Hey Tuggernuts," and then you pan to a view of all the students, and every single one has got robot legs kicking under their desks because they're all short. Also, this is neither here nor there. It seems like there's no age cap for how old you can be when you go to be a student of this academy. So you'll run into like people who are like enemy trainers who'll be like, "Student Gerald is ready to battle," and he's got like a 5 o'clock shadow and like a beer belly and like he's like a foot and a half taller than you, and he's like, "Yeah, this guy's a student. Okay, cool."
Yeah,
But
and on a technical front, there are plenty of games that do that thing where they have the frame rate of things that are probably outside your core field of vision. But
oh yeah,
it sounds like this is just tremendously poorly implemented.
yeah. It seems like in order to get the game to run at all, they had to shrink the field so that it was like things you could still see would get robot legs, and then like they get really close, and then it works.
It's
But
like
it's funny.
I was just gonna say it's like the Switch version of the N64 Fog.
Yeah, yeah. Now it's very important, Paul, for you to understand that as much as I rag on this game, and it does run like fucking garbage, it's really fun. You like, they blow the whole field open immediately, where they're just like, okay, you got your tasks. You want to go get 8 badges to go challenge Victory Road. That's one. Go fight these 5 fucking giant Titan Pokemon. That's another one. Go take down all the bases up for Team Star. That's another one. And they just hand you this beginning of like, give this huge map, and it's just like, all right, good luck, I guess. Go where you want to do. They're like, when they give you these assignments, it's like, do you wanna? And then you're like sure. And then you just handle it whatever you want, order you want. It's interesting because like the recommended path isn't immediately obvious. Like you can sort of get lost pretty easily and then sort of drift from the recommended path. But what'll happen is you'll wander into an area and be like, all right, I could probably take this guy on, right? But like every Pokemon you meet in the wild outside of the city in question is just kicking the shit out of you because you've gone where you technically shouldn't have, but you can. So you can officially do the gyms and the challenges in any order, but even in the descriptions when you like kind of like click or like hover over top of the icon in the map, it'll say something like they're considered a pretty powerful gym leader even among gym leaders. And they're like, I should leave that one to later. That's what I should do, so they don't just fucking body me.
So what I'm hearing here is that I should just wait until Switch emulators have come far enough that they run better than a Switch and do that. Because I should play this game, just not on a Switch.
I think they can probably patch it to the point where some of the more grievous glitches don't pop up. I haven't seen anything really hilarious yet, which is kind of sad. Just like, you know, the fucky frame rate, and like one time my trainer just sort of like disappeared from the screen in the middle of a Pokemon battle. Like the camera pans back to like supposed to show me like throwing a Pokeball, and it's just like empty space, and it's just like boop. I think probably in a couple of weeks, maybe a month, they'll have like a couple of patches rolled out that they will not. It's funny because Nintendo never really talks about that shit. They're never like, "Oh yeah, big patch note time, patch note time." It just happens, and then the game runs better. But I think give it a couple of weeks. Let the worst of the bugs get ironed out. Again, I'm a Pokemon lifer, so I couldn't give a fuck. I'll play this flaming garbage barge all the way to the end and like do absolutely everything. I don't give a shit. Like it doesn't crash. I don't get any game breaking glitches. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't do any of that shit to me. So I don't care. But I understand that my experience is not typical for the consumer. You know, people are gonna want to hang back and see if this thing turns out cool. On the flip side, if you're the sort of person who finds themselves endlessly amused by hilarious fucked up glitches, maybe get on the ground floor of Scarlet and Violet because I've seen some videos. Shit looks amazing.
Yeah, I haven't seen any glitches either. I don't know where all those are coming from, but
Hey, it's just a numbers game, man. You get enough people playing it, somebody's gonna have video footage of like a character stretching like the dude from Fantastic Four when they try to sit on top of their fucking rider Pokemon or whatever.
Yeah.
Miraidon, which is its actual fucking name.
It's a little on the nose.
Yeah, its ass is a wheel that it uses to drive you around, and it's got thrusters in its back legs. They could not have made it any more obvious.
All right. So how many new Pokemon are in this thing?
I think usually it's like 70 to 100.
they broke 1,000. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're up to 1,006. I think I was reading.
Okay, nice round number. Good. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm finding the difficulty balance. It's interesting. This one in Arceus, it used to be that you would just like get a crew together and then like roll through the type matches until you get to the Elite Four and have no problems. But now my crusty ass is like having trouble where I have to like, I don't know, maybe the amount of new Pokemon is just like getting up to the point where I don't have everybody's fucking type matchups memorized anymore. And so like I have to like get the shit kicked out of me by creatures a couple of times before I'm like, oh, okay. I think I got your number. And even then, if there's like a speed advantage, it's still, the battle might not go your way. It's interesting. I'm finding it more challenging. I'm pleasantly surprised by the challenge level I personally am encountering compared to previous generations.
Well, that's a good thing.
Mm.
Is it? Wow, that's a loaded question. I was going to ask if it's the best Switch game this year, but
What else came out on the Switch?
Well, that's the thing. I was just looking at the Game Awards nominees because those are out, and
Okay.
Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is nominated for fucking everything.
That's fair.
Have any of us played that? Is
I
it
did.
good?
I reviewed it.
Oh,
It's great for that kind of experience. If you want a big, messy JRPG with a long, convoluted story and like a lot of twists and turns and a ton of characters, it fucking rocks. It's a really great example of that very specific kind of game. So I understand. Plus, it runs great on the Switch and looks great on the Switch.
huh.
At least the character
rare.
models are all hot as fuck and like really well crafted.
Wow.
They're like people talk about like they would show screenshots of like, oh, Xenoblade looks like this. Why can't Pokemon look like this? I'm like, you picked a really nice screenshot for Xenoblade. I've seen a lot of the areas in that game. They are bleak. It's just like flat textures, just like images, like pictures of fucking actual environment over like a fucking bump map, and then there's like, you know, cool structures and formations and lots of interesting monsters. But guys, don't fucking kid yourselves. It still looks like an Xbox 360 game.
Oh,
Get
yeah.
the fuck out of town.
So like, there's
Maybe-
there's gotta be new Nintendo hardware on the horizon at least, right?
I wouldn't be surprised if they were holding off on that sort of thing until the chip shortage problems get resolved.
Well,
Because I don't think Nintendo wants to put out a new console and have the fucking backlash press that would come with a like PS5 situation. Like I don't think they want to disappoint their fan base in that fashion. And they are a big enough company where they can afford to make decisions like that, whether they're good or bad. But also this Scarlet Violet bullshit, this is just the beginning. This is going to be happening a lot more. We're going to get it to the point where like developers are like, I don't know if I can fucking make games for the Switch anymore because it was already old hardware when the system first came out.
But it
And it wasn't-
depends. So it's like I was saying, like it's not the hardware with Pokemon. It's very much Game Freak not being able to optimize their game. Look at fucking Monster Hunter. That's a great example. RE Engine, Capcom did a great job with optimizing that. There's a lot more that goes on at one time in that game, and it runs almost at a flawless 30 frames. Looks great. It's all good. Man, people just need to. It's if there's a game that's coming out for the Switch plus the PlayStation and Xbox, yes, I totally agree. Developers are going to start to be like, "Yo, we can't do this." But if you're developing a game specifically for the Switch and you're not Game Freak, I think that you'll still be all right for a few years.
I mean, yes and no, because Bayonetta runs like hot trash, and they know how to make a game.
I'm curious to see how that Breath of the Wild 2 comes out.
Well, it's gonna be exactly the same as Breath of the Wild 1.
Well, great. Then what's the problem?
Yeah,
But that'll be
so you
fine.
can make new
Nintendo stuff's
games.
always fine.
Yeah. You can make new games as long as they are the old games, and then you're good to go. But like,
Also, Nintendo has specifically designed their art styles so that they look good with like one polygon.
True.
You know, you don't need a ton of horsepower to make a good looking Boo or Koopa.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point. Very good point. How many polygons do you think they're using in that Jack Black, what's his name? Chris Pratt version?
a lot more.
Yeah.
Man, I'm such a fucking child. I saw that trailer in theaters and I was like, oh, I'm so psyched. I just felt it in my guts. I was like, oh, fuck. I
Yeah.
want to see this movie. It's just
Yeah.
like, just Jack Black doing the Bowser voice, like being big and imposing and cool. It's like, oh, fuck, man. I want to watch this. I'm gonna watch it in theaters.
Yeah.
Such a fucking nerd for this nonsense. I'm so into it.
I know I'm gonna watch it, but in that trailer, I kind of was side-eyeing it the whole time until, Mario flops down in the Mushroom Kingdom. His first line was like, "What the heck's going on?" or something. I'm like, "Oh fuck, I don't know."
You know who won't be watching it? John Leguizamo, who's come out and vehemently scolded the casting department, directors, producers of the film.
He is the Luigi in
He's
the
Luigi.
canon.
Yes, right, exactly. So yeah, he's pretty upset that they hired a bunch of white boys to play these characters.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yep.
That's totally fair.
Yep.
That's totally fair.
You know, I'd say I can't help but agree with them.
I mean, we'll give him a pass on Jack Black since there's not a whole lot of giant dinosaurs kicking around that are voice actors.
But Mario and Luigi?
Who'd they get for Luigi?
Charlie Day?
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I think it's Charlie Day.
No.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be so good.
You've got
Oh, it's gonna suck so hard.
Gonna whip ass, buddy. I don't know what you're talking about.
Man, who else is in there? I know Keegan-Michael Key's in there. Maybe is Toad?
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, it's gonna be it's gonna be a 7 out of 10 Illumination movie. But Jack Black is gonna elevate it to like a 7.5, maybe even an 8.
What do you think about Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong?
No thoughts.
Yeah.
Literally none. No
I mean,
thoughts
his
whatsoever.
laugh does sound like the Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Donkey Kong to me, I've seen the original CG series, children's series that came out in the 90s. You cannot get worse than that series. So there was no person they could have cast which would have been like, oh, that's not Donkey. No, it's all gravy. Just pick who the fuck ever you want. It's fine.
Yeah.
And Chris Pratt just has to do, literally all he has to do is a slight Brooklyn accent. That's it. That's all you need. Just a little Brooklyn. Put a little Brooklyn in your voice. I don't want you to sound like Charles Martinet. I don't want 2 hours of Charles Martinet doing Mario's lines. People are like, I would listen to that. Like, no, you fucking wouldn't. You liar.
Terrible.
So then what do you think is Charlie Day's job in all this? What do you think he needs to be doing?
Oh, just be himself. He doesn't need to do a goddamn thing. I think Charlie Day is great. I think he's very good at being panicky and loud.
Right.
And that's Luigi vibes.
That's a good point. That is a good point.
He's got to be a cowardly weirdo. So he's got that fucking nailed.
Now, if Chris Pratt can pull off Star-Lord from Brooklyn.
Yeah, it's a softball. It's such an easy lob. He can do it. He can slip in and out of the Brooklyn accent. He could just have a little Brooklyn in some of the things he says. It's fine, honestly.
Does he get a Yahoo in there somewhere?
Oh,
guaranteed.
For sure.
Guaranteed.
For sure.
Yeah, right. Probably more than once.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keegan-Michael Key is great. He's just good at what he does.
Yep.
I'm always happy to see him in anything. Yeah. Anytime he shows up, I'm like, oh, fuck yeah.
He's fucking hilarious, man. He was arguably the funniest guy on Mad TV.
That's fair. That's fair.
He was so good.
That's extremely fair.
Did you guys watch Schmigadoon?
Yes, I fucking did.
It's on Apple TV Plus. It's Keegan-Michael Key and Cecily Strong, and they fall through a portal to a world that is a musical all the time.
Oh, okay. It's live action?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really good.
Is it a movie?
It's a series, like a short series.
It's a 6-episode limited series. It's fantastic.
Nice.
It's hilarious. There's a lot of great cameos in there too.
Hell yeah.
Nice. Off topic, but another series if you want to check it out, if you haven't already. Pepsi, Where's My Jet? Just finished that today.
What's
Highly
that
recommend
on?
it. It's on Netflix, and it is the story of John Leonard, I believe his name was.
Oh, the Pepsi points guy.
The 7 million Pepsi points, yeah, to get his Harrier jet. And yeah, it's the story of that. It's just 4 like 40-minute episodes. Easy to
Okay,
watch.
because I'm glad you explained that, because when you said the phrase Pepsi where's my jet, I assumed that a neurological event was occurring.
I was having a
Like,
stroke.
yes, like something was happening to your brain that we
Yeah,
needed to
yeah.
call the fucking ambulance for. Pepsi where's my jet?
Yeah, no. Yeah, good stuff.
Okay, great.
Cool. Anybody play anything else?
Oh no. Well, I mean, not really. I've been on my like before. I've only sort of spent the last weekend playing Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get an early code for what, in retrospect, seems like obvious reasons. Um.
But imagine
Yeah,
this: Nintendo Force magazine did, and they gave it 100.
Oh, that's so fucking disingenuous. Like that's
Like,
that's
you
so
kidding me?
fucked. Yeah.
Couldn't be better. This is the best.
Yeah, I could.
Huh?
A masterpiece.
If you have Nintendo in your name and you give 100% to any Nintendo game, I'm going to assume that all of the vocal video review is going to be very muffled because of the like dicks in your mouth. Just like there's harder out of a really incredible graphic. It's just like
There's a shocking number of 100 scores for this game.
Yeah,
That's brutal. Like those people need to have their review licenses revoked.
it just discredits them as an institution.
Seriously,
It's
that's
just like,
brutal.
listen, I fucking love playing Scarlet and Violet. This is like a 68 or a 70.
Man,
Yeah.
an easy 6. An easy 6.
Yeah, 6 for a. I'd probably, if
7
I was
tops.
reviewing it, yeah, if I was reviewing it, I'd probably give it like a 65, and that'd be fine. That'd be totally fine.
Oh yeah, make it clear that in spite of all of its issues, they continue to innovate. They just can't fucking figure it out.
They need to stop doing that thing they do where they start putting, where they keep putting new people in like positions that they can't handle.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's a matter of them trying to squeeze too much in at once, because I remember the reaction with Shield and Sword. People were like, "Okay, enough of this. It's the same game. We don't want this anymore." It's still good. Still, it was still Pokemon. But they were just like, "It's the same fucking formula. We need something new." I wonder if they're just stretching themselves too thin at this point.
It's very possible.
But I mean, the Pokemon Company has more money than God.
Exactly.
They
hire
can
some
hire
fucking
a
developers.
shitload of people and make a bunch of games.
They can outsource this shit to people that do mods for games and have the problem fixed in 6 months.
It's really interesting because I get the feeling from everything I've seen that like all of the success of the Pokemon Company does not in any way trickle down to the Game Freak team. Like they make all this money off of the fucking licensing. They do the shows, they do the toys, they do the movies. They do the other merchandising tie-ins. They have this mega marketing giant, but like none of this comes back to Game Freak at any point. Like all these guys were just like, no, we're just gonna make what an average game developer makes, and our budget is going to be that of an average team, and we will be small, and that will be fine. And like, it's like some sort of work culture thing. I genuinely don't understand it. But I think whenever people talk about how this franchise has more money than God, it's incorrect, because the TPCI or whatever, the Pokemon Company Incorporated, they have more money than God. But that does not mean that Game Freak does. Like, I think people need to understand this, that like
Yeah,
for some reason,
Game Freak remains the mutant stepchild from that episode of The Simpsons, the Treehouse of Horror, that they keep chained in the attic and they feed fish heads to.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is totally off topic, but Rhett, you mentioned mod creators. Did either of you see the mod that came out for the PC version of Spider-Man that puts Willem Dafoe in it?
No.
It is awesome.
Really? Playable?
No, like,
Or
yeah, they replace with Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin.
yeah, that's fucking sick. So you're flying around on the glider and all that.
I don't know about that. I just saw some screenshots of the model that they threw in the game, and it's
Okay.
like super creepy Willem Dafoe face. So
Nice. And he's wearing the suit, I would imagine, from
I
the
saw him just as Norman
2002.
Osborn, but
Oh, okay. Cool.
yeah, I assume they have replaced it with the Spider-Man 2 era Green Goblin suit.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
The other game that I played a little bit of, and I want to play more, Pentiment, which is out on Game Pass, created by Josh Sawyer of Obsidian and Black Isle Studios fame. Famously the guy who wrote Fallout New Vegas.
Nice.
And this is basically a visual novel where it's kind of a murder mystery sort of thing, but it's presented like a Renaissance storybook. And it is very cool. And yeah, like I said, it's a visual novel, but I was also reading that the internet apparently thinks it sucks. They've been review bombing this game because it moves slow and it doesn't have enough action. Like, okay, people, it's a text-based adventure.
Yeah. What do they like sell it as? What genre do you find it in?
I mean, I just found it on the front page of Game Pass because they're hungry for anything that's
Right.
a new release. But yeah, I'd be surprised if it was in anything other than like narrative adventure.
Yeah. These people. Go ahead.
I was gonna change the topic. So if you got something else to say about Pentiment,
I was
go
just going to
for it.
ask one question. Just these people that are review bombing it, are they at least saying that the guy that wrote Vegas, what was his name?
Josh Sawyer.
Yeah, Josh Sawyer. Are they at least saying that his work is on point?
Well,
I haven't seen that. It sounds like it's just blind outrage.
No action. Fuck this.
You know, it's probably the people that are pissed that Modern Warfare 2 isn't on Game Pass.
Mm.
You know?
Gotcha. Yeah.
did I ever talk about on the podcast Immortality?
No, but I was going to ask about that because that's nominated for a shitload of game awards.
Well, guess what, motherfuckers? It absolutely earned them.
Really?
So
On
it's
Game Pass?
yes, it is. It's the weirdest thing I've ever played on Xbox, and it will probably hold that title for a long time. It's not. It's kind of like a visual novel, only it's all filmed with real human beings. It's basically the story of a particular actress and her career path. So you get these little clips of like recovered archival footage of like behind the scenes and like shot scenes and stuff like that. So it's like a game about the movie industry and about this particular actress and her mysterious projects that she did, one in the 70s, one in the 80s, and one in the 90s. And it's beautiful and fascinating and weird and very adult and like, and you get all these, and you get these shots where like you'll just see the actors sort of candidly expressing themselves to the camera, and it's very like powerful and pointed, and then somebody will like cut, and then you're like, oh, so that was just them doing a bit. And then you'll get some like behind the scenes stuff, and it's just like, and you get all the artifice coming down, you get all the like all the weird layers, and you uncover this stuff out of order. So you're like piecing it together bit by bit as you try to figure out the main story, like what the deal is with these people in these movies and like how they connect to one another. And like all of the performances are fucking amazing, and the way it's shot is incredible because it looks like something out of the 70s a lot of the time, or the 80s. Like the camera work they do is really amazing, and the writing is really interesting, and the narrative arc is fascinating because again, what you do is you pause the footage that you're watching, and then you just click on a person, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to take you to something else that connects that person, like to another piece of footage, and you just follow arcs and threads through like different actors and stuff like that, and it's so fascinating. And like I think you can uncover like most of like all of the footage in like 3 or 4 hours, and you just get like a complete picture of like what was happening. And it's just like it's really a really interesting story format, and again just like deals with some really interesting mature themes that it just really like blowing your fucking brain apart. It's just like I was deeply fascinated, and I saw it was getting nominated for shit at the Game Awards. I was like not even slightly surprised.
Yeah, well, I looked it up, and it's the same guy that made Her Story, and
Oh
that
yeah.
got a
Mm.
ton of Game Awards love. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. But glad to hear that it's, you know, better or more than Her Story was. I thought that was pretty thin to be getting all the praise that it did. But
Yeah.
if this
Oh, it was just
has more intrigue about it,
well, it was just one of those things. I for me personally, I have a love for what I call 1 a.m. media stuff that only makes sense at about 1 in the morning, and like Immortality is the best example of 1 a.m. media I've seen in like fucking years. Where you're just like, it's dark outside, you're like exhausted, you haven't slept, and you're just like clicking on endless little bits of footage, just try to get more pieces of this fucking crazy story.
well,
And like every time you like see something powerful or emotionally affecting, you have to decide whether or not it actually happened or whether it was just like part of a fucking scene. It's just like it's so good. And there's like relationships happening on screen and behind the scenes that are like impacting her, and like she's being used and abused by the industry because she's this beautiful young woman, and you're watching this happen in stories and like behind the stories and everything else, and it's just like it's so fucking engaging. It's
you're
cool.
not kidding about the mature themes. All
Oh,
the gallery images on the Xbox site are age blocked. Like,
oh
Yeah.
sign
yeah.
in to look at this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this something I can stream on YouTube even?
No. Some parts of it absolutely not.
Yeah.
Because there's like the first movie is this like Italian religious thriller kind of thing about like some priest and like him being like led to temptation by this crazy spirit or something. It's very weird. But anyways, there's like some sex scenes they film, and they get you know
Pretty
a
graphic.
little mature audiences, right? Like
Right.
yeah. So yeah, those are probably what you're seeing that are getting that specific sex scene is probably what people keep gallerying. They're just like, no, you can't just share this. You have to fucking age gate it.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Well, I'm gonna go
Yeah.
download that. That sounds pretty
Yeah.
cool.
I've got it installing now. Yeah.
It fucking rules. I mean, I'm kind of a giant weirdo, so I understand if somebody tried to check this out and they're like, hey, this is kind of boring. But like watching this slowly unfold in a kind of like asynchronous order is just like it's just a really interesting Game Pass experience. Like not what I expected to find on the platform.
I mean, we were just talking about this earlier, like how God of War is more of the same. And so anything that is way out there or is totally different than stuff that you've seen, it's well worth your time to go look at that, if only to refresh your palate for more of the core video game stuff that's out there.
I think,
Yeah.
Inscription nailed that really well.
Yes.
Last year.
Holy shit, yeah.
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 A nice segue though. We did play one other game. A nice Game Pass title everybody could check out was Grounded. James and I checked
Oh,
out last Monday.
we
Tons of
did.
fun. Yeah, tons of
Yeah.
fun. So you're
Yeah.
running around. It's It's basically a tribute to Rick Moranis and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. You're running around in the backyard, fending off spiders and bugs and collecting supplies. You know, it's really like a typical survival game, but it's very, very well made. Runs well, very smooth. I was mentioning to James when we were playing that I was really impressed by how well all the pieces snap together. You know, you go and play a game like Fallout 4, New Vegas, and you try to build something, or not New Vegas, 76. You try to build something, and it's very difficult to get pieces to snap together. Terrain will get in the way, objects will get in the way. But with Grounded, it's nice and easy to build whatever you want. Super important to those kinds of games.
Yeah, I thought it looked interesting when I played it early beta stage. Again, I talked about this last time, but games that spend forever in early access, they just fall off my radar so hard. And Grounded it falls into that trap too, but sounds like it turned out really good.
Yeah, it's cool. You drop down into the world and immediately you're like picking up blunt objects and trying to figure out how to make them into something that can beat the shit out of like ants and ticks and mites and stuff like that. So that's cool. And then you run into your first spider and it bodies you.
That's not cool.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking about God of War and how it holds your hand probably a little too much. Grounded is the opposite. I'm not going to say it doesn't hold your hand like enough, but it's just if you want a challenging experience, you can make Grounded tough. You know, you don't have to have any sort of tutorials turned on. Just figure things out for yourself. Like James said, you get dropped into a world, you pick up a stone, you start bashing bugs, and away you go.
Yeah.
Good times.
Sweet. Well, that's all good stuff. I pulled out a little bit of news.
Okay.
We kind of already talked about most of it. Given that the internet thinks Pentiment sucks and Pokemon definitely sucks, but people are still buying it.
Hey, did you see the article about how there's apparently a like dev kit thing still in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, where if you plug in 2 controllers wired, you can use them to run twice as fast?
Wow.
Sick.
Yeah,
That
you
doesn't
just
surprise me at all.
use the control sticks at the same time, and it's just like, oh, you're doubly fast now. But they have to be wired apparently. But like you can just do this because people are theorizing that it's just like a dev kit thing that they never got rid of because they clearly did not have the time.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay, what else? Like I said, the Game Award noms are out.
Yeah.
Do y'all want to chat about that a little bit?
If there's like controversial stuff, I mean, people were probably a little shocked by Immortality being on there because most people didn't play it. Here's the big one, the one I've seen endless fucking discussion on. Elden Ring has an award, a nomination for Best Narrative, and people are confused because a lot of people are under the impression that Elden Ring does not really have much of a story to speak of, or maybe that it's not like an award-winning story, and I am not super sure where I land on this. Because there is a lot of lore and a lot of narrative in Elden Ring, but it's not front and center. It's not surface level. You have to dig for it. You have to track it down. But, and like even, you know how George R.R. Martin is like involved in the project for Elden Ring? Do you know what he actually did?
Fucking
Oh
nothing.
man, he came up with the names of the gods. And what else? He wrote the intro. He wrote that intro monologue.
He wrote the fucking backstory. He wrote the story that happens 1,000 years before the actual events of the game.
Yeah.
So he fleshed out a whole narrative. You know, when you watch the like 3-minute cinematic introduction where it's just like there's this guy and Gobble Guts and Fuggly Foo and whatever else and all your fucking your Elden Lords and then bad shit happened. He wrote a whole story that ties it up, and that's all it was used for. Like that was the majority of his contribution to the fucking world.
Yeah. Make no mistake, FromSoft used his name as much as they could.
Yeah.
You know, they essentially paid not necessarily for the work he put in, but to use his name on the game's marketing, which is not
Great.
You know, hey, yeah, I love it. Great move.
Yeah, but anyways, the story is there, but it is difficult to access. You have to really go out of your way to find these narratives. And so people are under the impression, correct or not, that maybe it doesn't deserve the best narrative nod.
I mean, arguably that's part of the point is that it's obscured, but I feel like the storytelling in Elden Ring is no different than any of the other FromSoft games. So
No.
if Bloodborne or Dark Souls 1, 2, or 3 or Demon Souls were not worthy of this nomination, neither is Elden Ring. Because yes, there's great lore, and if you go and look at it and read it, it's very interesting, and you can see the effects of that lore on the world. But is that a narrative?
I will say
I lean towards no.
that I feel like there was more of a cohesive story, or like one that I was able to pay attention to and kind of understand more innately than in previous games where like especially Dark Souls 1, like I had no fucking idea what was happening in that game. But like by the time we get to Elden Ring, I'm like, no, I know what the story is. I understand the narrative of this world. I get the narrative thrust. It's not detailed. It's pretty skeletal, but like there's definitely a very clearly laid out tale here of like fucking terrible hubris on the part of powerful people and the fucking far-reaching consequences of that, and your efforts to undo all their awful mistakes and return the world to something resembling normalcy. And I think that's fucking cool. I don't know if you maybe narrative is like a clumsy word to try to attach to that, but it's great. It's honestly I think it's the best it's ever been.
Perhaps true. I
Mm.
think by that same token, I don't know if it's nominated for narrative. Is Stray nominated for narrative? No,
There's no
because
way.
I think that does the exact same thing and does it more effectively.
Mm.
Because it leads you into those realizations, whereas Elden Ring, you really have to go out of your way or stumble across it randomly.
I mean, I didn't do any of that shit. I didn't do any of the work to like look. I didn't hunt down the narrative in any way. I just played the game and I got a pretty clear picture of like what the fucking story was.
I mean,
That's what I'm saying. Like previous
James, you
games,
you played 140 hours of it, so
yeah, but a lot of that was like grinding and hunting down secrets and stuff like that. Those were not story
I
hours.
know I'm just being a dick.
But who are the other nominees for best narrative?
Plague
God of
Tale,
War has gotta
Requiem,
be on there.
God of War
Mhm.
Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, and Immortality.
Okay, Elden Ring isn't going to win, so I don't think we really have to
I know.
worry.
I was gonna say, like, honestly, I have a very tough time seeing anything but God of War taking this. Although, with the way James described Immortality, that sounds like it could be a dark horse. Best
Yep.
narrative? Yeah.
Sure, but this is done by like the public voting, is it not?
No.
No, yeah, it's like critics, right?
Yeah.
The Jeff
There
Keighley's and
are
whatnot.
yeah, there are a few that are public. Like
Yeah.
the best influencer and that shit.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean I could see any of them being the winner. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Plague Tale, given how much
Mm.
recognition that one got. I don't agree that it's the best. Yeah, I'd probably go for. Well, I haven't played all of Ragnarok, but either Ragnarok or Forbidden West would be pretty strong.
Yeah, those seem like a narrative that's cohesive and accessible while still emotionally impacting and well written and satisfying. So you have to hit the broad strokes. You have to hit all the major points, right? It can't just be like the best of the series because that's kind of a low bar sometimes, or it can't just be like because if the best writing doesn't matter if nobody fucking reads it or sees it or hears it, so The Elden Ring, I think, is out of the running for that reason. But so yeah, probably Ragnarok or Forbidden West.
Yep, I'd agree with that. I think actually this year, when I clicked through all these categories, there's a lot more overlap than I've seen in previous years.
Yeah.
You know, where game direction is basically the same list as game of the year.
Mm.
Art direction is basically the same list as game of the year, but maybe with one game swapped out here and there.
Mhm.
Well, I think game of the year, the idea of that one is that for it to really qualify, it should be on a bunch of the other lists.
Yep, for sure.
So
Fair enough. Yeah.
I just think that it's a lot more aligned than it has been in the past.
yeah, that's fair.
But
I'm always curious. I'm always curious to see what they put out there for like best soundtrack, best original.
Best score and music. I just clicked to that one, and
Hell yeah.
it is Plague Tale, Elden Ring, Ragnarok, Xenoblade Chronicles, and Metal Hellsinger.
Oh, sick!
Which that one should win. That's that rhythm-based
Oh.
Doom-esque shooter.
Oh, nice.
That has
Hell
rad
yeah.
music.
It's real good. Yeah, the music in Elden Ring is great, but it's like a companion piece where it sort of melts into the background. It's just a lot of like somber string arrangements. And it's just like, okay, these are cool, but like, I don't remember them. But fucking Xenoblade Chronicles 3, you play the game and those songs will just live in your brain forever. They will just be there. You will be like making dinner and you'll just find yourself humming the battle music or like some of the like town music. Like that soundtrack is mostly earworms by weight. So like it absolutely deserves to be on that list.
Oh god, I just click all the way back. Who wrote it? Yasunori Mitsuda.
Oh, fucking course he did.
Yeah, I mean, like no shit then.
For people who don't know, Yasunori Mitsuda made all of the best JRPG music from the 90s and the early 2000s.
Yeah, anything that wasn't Uematsu was Mitsuda.
Yeah, that's right. It was just those two guys, basically.
And it's all amazing.
Yeah. His discography is certified. It's fucking certified. Every piece. He did there was a soundtrack of his that I found online for like game that doesn't exist or like was never released in North America or wasn't actually a game called Keyrite, Kirite, and like just the most incredible 10-12 song breakdown that I've ever heard him make. And it's for something that like nobody's ever gonna fucking hear. Like you have to be like an absolutely diehard fan of his music to even hear it. And it sucks because it's really, really good.
Yeah. Other stuff that stood out to me, Shredder's Revenge got a nomination for Best Action Game.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Tunic got a nomination for Best Action Adventure. Live Alive and Triangle Strategy got nods for RPG. What else? They called Sifu a fighting game.
That feels weird.
Like,
Oh,
I mean,
okay,
kinda.
yeah. In the they compared it to like a Street Fighter, a Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, Street Fighter's a fighting game.
Yeah.
Sifu is
Hell on Earth. I did a
It's not-
full playthrough of Sifu, and
Yeah,
I don't know what the developers were thinking with that one. I think that they would just wanted to hurt their audience.
Yes,
I'm convinced.
specifically yes. Yeah, you're
I
absolutely correct.
desperately wanted to like it and just bounced off so hard.
Yeah, me too. I like, man, when you get, and I never got good at it, so I can't really say when you get good, it gets really fun. But there are those moments where I had, I could string together a couple combinations and it was fun enough, but it was never good enough to make me actually want to get good,
Yeah. Yep, that makes sense.
And that game requires a lot of practice. A lot of practice.
Let's see, what else can I click through here? Ooh, there's a best adaptation category,
Okay.
which is outstanding creative work that adapts a video game to another medium. So the new Sonic movie is in there. The Cuphead show is in there. The Uncharted movie, and the one that should absolutely win, Cyberpunk Edgerunners,
Yes.
which is
Yeah, that'll probably win. People were going nuts for Edge Runners.
It's pretty
it
good.
Fucking man, it reignited interest in that game.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you why. It's because they got Studio Trigger to do it, which was the smartest move they could have made.
oh yeah.
Because Trigger's whole deal is extremely intense action sequences and wild, surreal visuals. So, like, they were the studio meant for Cyberpunk. Like, the two are like fucking peas and carrots. You just can scarcely think of a better match. Yeah, if they tried to hand it off to another studio, it just wouldn't have hit as hard. Like, not even close.
Mm-hmm. The other one that's most interesting to talk about anyway is most anticipated game, and the list there is Final Fantasy 16, Hogwarts Legacy, Resident Evil 4, Starfield, and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, I will say, it seems like there's a lot of little things about Hogwarts that people are really vibing with. Specifically, there's a problem in video games that comes up a lot and has still not been properly addressed. Black hair, specifically black people, their hair options are generally pretty fucked.
Yeah.
But apparently in Hogwarts Legacy or whatever it's called, they're great. They're way better. Like, they have a lot more flexibility, a lot more realistic options. Because a lot of times it's just like there's like 2 or 3 hairstyles at best. If you want to play a black character, like that's as much as you can really get, and like it's really tone deaf and like not like well implemented. But apparently one of the things the Hogwarts Legacy has done right is black hair, which is great. And you know,
that's so true. You know, like, I'm thinking of character creators like, you know, Fallout or something like that. And you scroll through the hair options, and then right at the end, there's short
Cornrows,
and curly
afro.
and shorter and curly. And I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's their black hair. Like, come on, do better.
yeah, it's just, it wouldn't be hard. And like, again, you want to serve your fucking audience, and a lot of your audience is people of color. Like, what are you
Yeah.
doing? You know, you're leaving money on the table.
Yeah, and you know, even people outside of that target group. Would you not want more hair options? Yeah,
Yeah.
you would.
I'm all about maximum customization power.
Absolutely.
I want the highest possible amount of that in every game. Always. So like anytime you have an opportunity to like broaden your fucking audience, great. Do it up. Absolutely. Make it happen. Yeah.
But yeah, every time I've seen a video of Hogwarts, and every time they come out with a new gameplay demo, I'm like, that looks fun as hell. Like, it looks awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I just desperately wish that it was multiplayer. That's the one thing. It's going to be a good time.
Oh, is it not? There's
It's
no co-op?
not. It's a single player game.
Oof.
And I just desperately
Ow.
wish that I was going to be, I was going to be able to run around Hogwarts with some friends. Maybe I'm in Gryffindor. They're in Hufflepuff or something. Meet up, go to class, go our separate ways, live in the world together. No, not to be.
Screw your buddies over and get points
Yeah.
taken away from Hufflepuff.
Exactly.
sounds
Yeah,
fun.
like how
Sounds
fun
good.
would that be if you like could play it with 4 players potentially? Everyone has a house, and you
Ooh,
are actually competing to win. For by the year's end. They're leaving money on the table.
that's Hogwarts synonym for legacy. It'll come out in 5 years.
All right.
What
That's
else,
unfortunate.
fellas? We got anything else, or we're just done? Just done.
I think all of our brains and our bodies are poured into these games we've been playing over the last little while. I think I'm excited to see what you guys think of Immortality, how long you can stick it out in that incredibly weird world before you bounce, what your impression is of it when you get there. I think once I'm done blasting through Pokemon, I'm probably going to dig into a couple of more weird Game Pass titles, or maybe just Darktide. Maybe just that.
Is that on Game Pass?
I believe it's coming to it, but I can't be certain. I know it's coming for Xbox, so I guess we'll see.
Love that Xbox partnered with How Long to Beat. So with this Immortality, it only shows 6 hours to get through the main story. It's not
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah,
That's 6 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. hours.
Yeah.
yeah. Really, that's my only advice for people looking to check out Immortality. Make sure it's the time of your day where things are the weirdest. For me, it's between about 11:30 p.m. and 1 in the morning, when like certain music hits different, certain video clips just feel cooler, and Immortality makes more sense. So like everybody has that time in their day. For me, it's 1 a.m.
Play it when you're feeling just a little fucky.
Yeah. A little fucky, a little weird, a little wild, a little woolly,
Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I
Yeah.
guess that's it for this episode.
Okay.
This has been an episode of Press X to Podcast, the podcast part of the Press X to Podcast channel. The part that's not the streaming, the part that's the podcasting. And we've been Paul, Rhett, and James. Got real excited about your name there, James.
It's a very exciting name, I understand.
So, yeah, we'll see you right back here sometime soon. And you'll probably see Rhett, I don't know, tomorrow?
Probably later tonight, actually, when I get into some more God of War.
Look at this guy.
Yep.
Dive back
What-
into the world of God of War Ragnarok with my boy.
Oh yeah, putting in those long hours. And hey, check us out on TikTok. You don't stop. Press X podcast. We're on there now. It's actually going pretty well over there. So
Yeah. All right.
I was just reading a story today about how the Chinese government is surveying TikTok accounts again, and I feel so nasty being on there. God.
I think that's the point, man. It's a nasty platform. All right. Well, we're getting out of here. See you later, everybody. Have a great,
Goodbye, y'all.
great week and a great rest of your lives until we see you next.
Yeah.